Welcome to Snaizeholme, a site owned and managed by the Woodland Trust and supported by the White Rose Forest on another glorious day. We're up here on the limestone grassland here on Snaizeholme Fell. We're quite high up here, and we're actually on the last phase of our tree planting areas. So we've planted up to approximately 290 hectares to date over the last 4 years. Yeah, this is the last phase of that. And we do have quite a lot of this limestone grassland up here at Snaizeholme, and we're not planting it all, and it's important to stress that. So some areas we're still keeping very open. However, this area we've got here where we are planting is quite well connected to existing woodland and forestry. So that's one of the reasons why we're targeting this, and to create quite a niche habitat within this limestone grassland with scattered scrub. But not only that, we're also planting with some quite different species up here. We're planting Montane scrub. So Montane scrub are species, things like eared willow, we've got dwarf birch, and a few other species that we're using here. They're sort of genetically adapted species to be better suited to these mountainous conditions. So that fits quite nicely with some of these brutal weather that we have up here. Yeah, the limestone grassland up here is quite an important habitat in its own right. We get golden plover up here, and we get the sort of floristically quite rich in the vegetation types. So for that reason, we're really keen to keep actually grazing this. We graze this with sheep currently, and for this reason, it means we have to protect the trees a bit different. So we're using these cactus guards, we call them. They've basically got weld mesh with spikes on it, almost with barbs on it. So effectively stops the livestock, the cows and the sheep from wanting to push up against it and eat the trees, basically.
That's my template. So I'm going to screef that area. Give the trees as good a chance as possible. They're just going in between the rocks, so they might not look pretty, but they should be solid. So we've got the oak in the middle, and we're just going to put 5 dwarf birch around the outside. About an inch of soil above the cell to stop the cell drying out. Not that it's going to dry out much today. And we're going to put a cane on to support the bole guard. Got a mixture of tubes. They're both biodegradable, but we're just experimenting, see which ones work the best.
Last time we were up here, we mentioned we were going to be doing some Montane species planting on the tops. So here we are up on the top, and here's what we're doing. Putting these guards round, planting the species in little biodegradable guards. And as you can see, once again, you've come on another bad day. And I said last time it was probably going to be the worst day of the year. Well, this one's even worse, so you've done well. We're just putting 3 panels together, with these little clips. They go around the wire, and the drill just twists them up like that, holds them together, as demonstrated.
So it's the first time we've used any sort of protection up here for our trees. We're seeing that a lot of the smaller stock and the smaller tree stock up here at Snaizeholme are getting hit quite hard by voles in the last couple of years. The Montane stock that we do have typically are quite small, So we thought it quite important to try and protect them. And in this smaller area, we feel like we can commit to that extra resource and that extra level of protection. We're using exclusively biodegradable plastic tree guards. We're using a couple of different types, so we're hoping to just try and see what performs best out here. Is there a certain guard which maybe does better and lasts a bit longer? Because a lot of these guards are quite new to the market, so they're a little bit untested, especially out in some of these pretty brutal conditions that we do have at Snaizeholme. Yeah, so just having a quick walk through, just having a look at previous year's planting really. So this area here is just 1 year in, so we've had one growing season here, and it's doing quite nicely. Bit of vole damage, we've had some big issues with voles recently. In some areas we've been hit quite hard with voles, but as you can see in this area we're doing quite well. There's a little bit nibbling with voles, but nothing that will affect these trees as it is right now. So at the moment these looking pretty good. It'd be nice to see how these go on in the next few years. In other areas, we have been up against it. Voles in some areas with certain size stock, and there's areas we might have to go back in and intervene. But this area particularly looks pretty good. Yeah, so this is another area where we're looking at establishing Montane scrub, like on the limestone up at the top that we talked about. They're actually in the valley bottom here. But it's an area that we want to have grazing again in amongst, a bit of sort of almost create a bit of wood pasture, a bit of agroforestry type sort of situation. So we're actually looking at probably planting single species within each one of these. We've got quite a few scattered around within each one of these exclusion pens. So we can almost use it as a mini nursery for the whole site really. So we can grow individual species. We could take cuttings and collect seed from these and propagate the rest of them around the site. And potentially any other projects, any other partner projects, or anyone interested in these niche species can come and collect them from really. We're also looking at including cactus guards in amongst these exclusion pens, like on the top up there, but this time mainly looking at putting individual oak trees in to try and create some more of an open grown oak, create nice shelter for the livestock, and like I say, to try and get this sort of wood pasture sort of feel. I think it'd be creating quite an interesting habitat down here.